Morning.
Testing.
My name is Fiona Onasanya. I am a former Member of Parliament and currently I'm an experiential advisor for St Giles Trust. My relationship with the media, a challenging time, was when I was on trial at the Old Bailey. I had 2 trials at the Old Bailey, and the media frenzy, that's what I'll call it, they literally surrounded me. They harassed my family. They came to my house. I think they call it doorstepping, because they say they want to get your side of the story, but they're not really interested in your side of the story. So what was challenging is that I understood constituents would want to know what I was doing and would get that information from the media. So what I found challenging is that they didn't paint the whole picture. They just gave a very slanted point of view, which favoured getting clickbait and favoured them selling stories, in my opinion. The press came to my house and they were waiting outside my house. They'd told other media outlets where I lived. So then there was a whole barrage of people waiting and taking photos. It makes you feel very vulnerable when the media do that, because there's no regard for how it's going to affect you after they leave. For example, coming to my house, photos taken outside my property, the door number showing in the pictures, it means that you have no privacy. It means that you aren't sure if you've got security either. I would say to aspiring journalists that are looking to report on the criminal justice system that they need to really look at both sides so they can be as impartial as possible, because what I think happened in my case, they reported arguments or discussions or complaints of the prosecution as if they were fact, and they didn't speak to me or my team about the opposite, because there's 3 sides to every story: yours, theirs, and the truth. Remember the gravitas of the situation and the gravitas of the responsibility you hold when you say your stories or make reports. Remember that.
Hi, my name's David and I'm a prison reform campaigner. Since my release from prison this time around, I've been involved with the media quite a lot. I've had some challenging moments, not many, but one that really does spring to mind is a recent one where I was going to be doing some work with Channel 4 on a programme. I loved the premise of what it was that they were doing, and they mentioned about getting in contact with past victims. What I wouldn't want to do is I wouldn't want to be responsible to trigger those memories once again. So when they told me that, it really started to get me thinking, and it put me off from doing it. And I was quite worried because we were about 3 days away from filming. And I was quite worried about saying, I've changed my mind. The best part about that was the way that I was dealt with after saying no. Some of the positive things they'd done were the contacts they had with me, the support they gave me, seeing a psychotherapist beforehand, and the support afterwards. Even though I changed my mind and said, no, I didn't want to do it, I thought the support afterwards was fantastic. I think what it comes down to when working with journalists and working with media companies is that connection, is the connection beforehand. Having your, if you like, your views and opinions valued. You're there for a reason. And if they're not valuing your opinion, what's the point of being there? I think my advice would be that let's not stick to the same narrative. Journalists are there to inform people, especially when it comes to the criminal justice system. Stories don't need to be made up. It's dramatic enough as it is, do you know what I mean? So for me, what's important is, one, sticking to the facts, but ensuring those facts are correct. And when you're trying to change the narrative and you're trying to reform the criminal justice system, but people just see it as this, if you like, this vacuum that exists outside of society, then we're always going to have the problems that we have with the criminal justice system. But at the end of the day, the reasons why I do what I do now is because I want to see fewer victims of crime and I want to see safer communities. And I think the more that we can get the media and journalists on our side, the sooner that will happen.
My name's Sue Beer. I am a survivor advocate at the Law Charity Appeal. My relationship with the criminal justice system is basically my husband was sent to prison for 24 years in 2011, served 12 years of his sentence, a wrongful conviction. He and his co-defendants all maintain their innocence and are supported by the Law Charity Appeal. So yeah, my family and I are all survivors of a wrongful conviction. One of the most challenging times we've had with the media was the day that my husband was convicted. Obviously a massive shock, trying to get our heads around a 24-year sentence. My husband and his co-defendants were all tried in Kingston. We live on the Isle of Wight. Rang our eldest daughter Ellie and she said, "It's right, I know, Mum." How do you know? It was on the local paper's website, and some of the other students had already kindly told Ellie that her dad had got 24 years in prison. She was on her own on the island at school when she found out. And I was all the way up in Kingston and just felt so angry that they'd taken that opportunity away from me to tell her. If I could have had some control over how they handled it, I think I would have asked them to just have a little bit of empathy here. I'm on the mainland. I need to get home and speak to my children. We had a really positive experience with the media when we had a podcast made in the run-up to my husband's appeal. They came and they got to know us. We were people to them. We weren't just a story. They came along, they met us at home, all the different family members involved with the co-defendants. They did a lot of background work on it. They really spent a lot of time, and they got to know us all individually and spoke to us all individually. They were very considerate of our feelings and they saw us as people. They didn't just think, oh, that's probably it. They asked us questions. They allowed us to have a say and to share as much as we felt comfortable sharing. And if we didn't feel comfortable, that was okay as well. My advice to journalists working in the criminal justice system or reporting on cases would be, think about how you'd feel if it was a member of your family or a friend, a loved one, and the impact that your report will have on the children, the loved ones, because everybody believes what they read in the paper.